Hi, I'm Maureen Paraventi, editor of Workplace Material Handling and Safety magazine, and this is another one of our series of thought leadership conversations with industry leaders. And the industry leader with me today is Steve Puls. Steve is the founder of Wy'East Products. We're going to get into that name. The company is based in Portland, Oregon, and manufactures both ClearCap forklift covers and TuffCab panel cab enclosures. Now, Steve, you worked in the molded plastics industry before founding Wy'East Products. Can you tell us a little bit about your professional background?
Yeah, thank you. I started off in plastics industry in, I hate to admit it, in the early part of the 80s, and was involved in a number of different companies and businesses, but primarily my job was helping to engineer materials, products, and the processes that those products were made with. And I did a lot of different things, was president of the local Society of Plastics Engineers chapter, and had a major part of my career involved in plastics.
And when did you decide to start this business? What was the spark or the inspiration for it?
Yeah, you know, it's funny how things work. I was actually part of a management team that was running a sheet extrusion facility, and I was watching our guys unload a flatbed trailer. And, you know, we're up here in Oregon. We know a lot about rain, and we see a lot of rain. And these poor guys were out there working in the rain. And I thought to myself, gosh, why don't they just take a piece of plastic sheet and throw it up over the top of the forklift? And so that was kind of the inspiration. And when I went and talked to the guys, they said, well, you know, we can't do that because we can't see through it. So that made me think, well, gosh, there's got to be something out there that that can take care of this. So I actually went to our local, one of our local forklift dealers, and I purchased a couple of kind of one size fits all flexible plastic clear vinyl covers. And I gave them to the guys at the warehouse and thought, I'm a hero. You know, I've fixed their problem for them. And they put them on, and I don't think it was a week later they had taken them off. And honestly, I was kind of mad because I had paid for those out of my own pocket to help them out. And I went and asked them, and they said, well, you know, they were flexible and the water kind of puddled up on top. And when I stepped on the brake, the water all came over the front and landed in my lap. And it was at that point that I thought to myself, gosh, I can make something better than that. And I honestly, that idea rattled in my head for probably 3 or 4 years before I actually did something with it, and had mentioned it a couple of times. And finally, somebody I knew encouraged me and said, hey, you know, I think that's a pretty good idea. So that's kind of the genesis of the thing. And that was, gosh, that would have been in probably around 1997, 1998. And from there, we went off and made our first mold and some prototypes and showed them around. And I think the first guy I talked to said, why didn't I think of that? And so that was the encouragement. That was all the encouragement we needed. But yeah, that was how we got started.
Now, I have to ask, what is the story behind the Wy'East Products name? And I should say it's spelled W-Y and then apostrophe and then the word East. Now, it's unusual.
Well, it is unusual, and sometimes I regret having named the corporation that, but it's part of my inspiration here living in the Northwest. I grew up, and I've been a skier all my life, and many people know Mount Hood. They see that in the background of pictures of Portland. It looms over the city, and it kind of looms over the people that live here. It's you know, on a sunny day, we say the mountain is out. So Wy'East is actually the Native American name for Mount Hood. And it's a place that I just love and has had an influence in my life. Many, many happy memories are made up on that mountain.
Well, it's important to you.
It is.
Now, are you a web-based business or a more traditional one?
You know, it's both. You know, it's interesting. We started this business and we've utilized, you know, basically people working remotely. since the very beginning. And we work through, our dealers on a traditional basis where, we ship to them. But in recent years, as we all know, buying habits have changed and people are much more comfortable, buying products off of a website. And so right now, I would say that probably about 75 to 80% of our business would be traditional distribution based. But another 20 to 25% is coming off of the website. So it's sort of a hybrid is the way I would describe it.
Mm-hmm. Now, Steve, tell me, why should a company go to the extra expense of equipping forklift trucks with covers or cabs?
Well, I guess starting with the covers, if you've ever sat down on a wet seat, I think we all know how unpleasant that is.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is there isn't really anything unique about the idea. People have been putting items on top of their overhead guards for years, whether it's a piece of plywood, cardboard, shrink wrap. I always said anything somebody could take out of a dumpster, they could put on top of their forklift. But you can't see through it, and that's an important issue. The ability to see what you're doing when you're doing lifts is really important. So that would be number one. It would be the comfort and safety of your operators and your operation. And then I would also say, to companies that want to present an image of quality and safety, what do you want on your forklift? Do you want garbage on your forklift, or do you want something that looks professional and takes care of the job? And I think those are the two primary reasons that somebody would want to outfit their forklift.
Well, especially in this era when retaining good employees, trained, experienced workers is so important. I would think that would be a factor then as well.
Well, I agree, and it's a small investment to make things comfortable for them. And of course, that's on the ClearCap side of things. And on the TuffCab, for years people asked us, well, do you guys do windshields? Do you do anything more? And the answer was no, because plastics just will not hold up to a windshield wiper. And we realized that to do that would take a whole nother step of manufacturing different materials. And we resisted it for a period of time, but with new people that came in and became involved in the business that had other expertise, we saw that we could do something in that area. And the TuffCab is kind of an outgrowth of our customers, listening to our customers and what they needed. And there are folks out there that want more of a cab enclosure than what ClearCap offers. So that's how that particular product line came to be.
Okay. Let's get back to ClearCaps for just a minute, because I did have a question. Why do you offer both clear and tinted ClearCaps?
Sure. Well, a lot of people operate, in areas where there's a lot of sunshine. And we all know that having a pair of, sunglasses on is beneficial. So the tinted version of the ClearCap helps with glare and things of that nature when you're outside and you're trying to see what you're doing safely. Interestingly, though, both the ClearCap in the clear version and the tinted version, we utilize a UV grade of polycarbonate, so they both block 100% of UV light. And if you're a guy like me, sunlight coming down on your head, we know that UV exposure is a serious matter. So that's an interesting thing I think a lot of people don't think about with our product is, it's not just about rain and things like that. It's also protecting you from UV light, which is damaging to people's skin. So both the clear and the tint do that. But I would say, the tint is really for people that are working outside all the time. And we recommend that if companies are doing, lifts that would be inside the building and going outside, it's kind of like sunglasses on. When you come inside, it's a little hard to see. So in those applications, we recommend that people stick with the clear version.
Now, you mentioned a lot about the weather protection, how a transparent roof can protect from various weather elements like rain and snow. What about falling objects? Is what you use tough enough for that?
Yeah, what we use is, it's polycarbonate. Polycarbonate is the same material that you see in riot shields. So it's an incredibly tough material. Obviously, a ClearCap's not there to replace the overhead guard. It's there to augment the overhead guard.
Mhm.
So examples would be, light debris. Let's say you're pulling pallets out of a rack and you've got chunks of wood and dirt and dust. It does a great job of protecting from that. It can certainly take much higher impacts, and we have, anecdotal stories of people like wine distributors where bottles would come off racks and before they would break on the overhead guard,
Wow.
gas would filter through. We're certainly going to help in matters like that. I always encourage people, if they've got a specific application and they're concerned about whether the TuffCab the ClearCap is going to be adequate, we suggest, hey, let's get a sample to you, let's get a demo to you, and you give it, a test in your own environment and determine if it's adequate. I know that I can jump up and down on a ClearCap and it's not going to break, but in terms of specific application, we really want people to test that and determine if it's suitable for themselves. But it is really tough material, and I think it does a wonderful job of protecting the operators.
Well, that kind of brings me to another question. How difficult is it to install ClearCap covers?
Oh, well, that's really quite simple. It basically is a cap. It fits over the top of the overhead guard. It's designed to fit close. It doesn't have to fit perfectly. And then there are 4 cam lock buckle straps that basically lash it to the overhead guard. So it literally takes just a couple of minutes to put on. There's no drilling, no tapping, no welding, none of that that's required, no modifications to the overhead guard. So it's really quite simple.
That does sound simple, even to me. OSHA has one of our favorite subjects. OSHA has a standard covering powered industrial trucks, and it has 2 key requirements that it sounds like ClearCap roof covers address. So how can your roof covers help companies, help prevent companies from getting OSHA fines?
Sure. I think the number one and most important thing is that OSHA will not allow you to block the view of the operator. And so if you've got some sort of material, whether it be a piece of plywood or cardboard or even shrink wrap, which is clear, but you really can't see through it,
Mhm.
that is on your overhead guard and blocking that view, that is a potential OSHA violation. And the nice thing about ClearCap is that you can point out that it is compliant with that regulation and you don't need to be concerned about that. Frankly, the cost of a ClearCap is nothing compared to an OSHA fine.
Ah, that's a good point. And as you've already discussed, it can help with protection from falling objects, which OSHA also wants employers to do.
Sure, of course. And the OSHA standard is very specific about the overhead guard and being able to protect the operator from whatever the fall hazards are within their environment. And once again, I would say, the ClearCap is there to augment that. The overhead guard is still the most critical part of your protection. And the nice thing about our product is that we are not doing anything to change that structure. It's just an addition.
Let's talk a minute about one of your newer product lines. You already mentioned the TuffCab panel cab enclosures. Now, why would that be needed? And I have to ask, why not just get a factory cab?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Why would it be needed? Well, if someone is working, primarily these would be forklifts that are working outside virtually all of the time. So picture a lumber yard or maybe a pipe distribution company, something along those lines, where their forklifts are operating all the time and their operators need additional protection. They need the ability to have a windshield, much like, let's think of it, the difference of riding a motorcycle versus driving in a car. It's far more protective. We have a windshield panel, a roof panel, and a partial rear window that are steel and tempered safety glass construction. And those simply clamp to the overhead guard. Here again, no changes to the factory overhead guard. It's a bolt-on application. And then to complete the enclosure, if somebody chooses this, we also offer heavy-duty vinyl side curtains with doors and a rear piece in the back that creates a complete enclosure. The question about why wouldn't somebody buy that from the factory is a good one. A lot of forklifts are sold from the factory without any sort of cab enclosure. Factory cabs are extremely expensive. And in cases where a forklift has not been fitted with a cab from the factory, it's very difficult to go back and do that as an aftermarket or later in the life of that forklift. So this is an aftermarket option that they can add to their forklift that may not have been equipped that way from the factory. And from a cost standpoint, you're probably looking at something that is a third of the cost, if not less, of what it would cost to get a factory cab.
Wow. So let me make sure I have it. TuffCab is made of extremely durable materials.
Yes.
It is not difficult to install, or it sounds more complicated than the ClearCap.
Yeah, it's certainly more complicated. I would say that, from an installation standpoint, you're probably looking at about 3 hours installation time on the first one. It gets much easier after you've done a few, but frankly, the most difficult part is, wiring the wiper motor to the proper 12-volt source, which is something that we highly recommend that, people out there, go to their factory trained material handling dealers and have them do that for them.
Sure. I mean, windshield wipers on windshields for forklift trucks are kind of amazing. It sounds like a wonderful feature to have.
Yeah.
Now I have to ask, you've been in business for 20 years?
Correct. Yeah, it's actually, we're pushing 21 now.
Oh, wow. What are the keys to your success?
Well, that's a nice question. I think, number one is that we have tried to be a leader in customer service. We have, a person there to answer the phone, to talk to you, that is knowledgeable. So that is an area that has always been very important to me. I would also say that, our expertise in the ability to mold plastics, to build molds, to do the type of forming that we do has been, certainly beneficial. We have been lucky that way, that there's a lot of expertise. And, I think the other thing is that with any business, there are challenges, and sometimes you just have to struggle with it. And, you work through those problems, you do your best for the customer. And when you have those things in mind and accomplish that, your business is going to grow. And I think that's what we've experienced.
That sounds like great lessons for entrepreneurs right there.
It's served us well. Thank you.
Good. Is there anything else you'd like to add to help people learn a little bit more about the company or its products?
Well, I would certainly suggest that you go to our website. It's clearcap.com, and check it out. There's some videos on there that show both the ClearCap and TuffCab in action, and the installation, which I think is useful. There's a toll-free number. I suggest that you pick up the phone if you have any questions. If you're concerned about what make or model of forklift you have and what the proper model of ClearCap or TuffCab you need, we're here to help you out. And when I say we, that includes myself. So please, just check in with us via the website. Give us a call. We're here to help you. And I think most importantly, if you're a dealer of ours that's looking at this right now, thank you very much for your support. And if you're a potential new customer, we're here to help you, and we appreciate any opportunities that you can bring to us.
Steve, I feel like I've learned a lot, which is always nice in these conversations. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Maureen. It's a pleasure, and I wish you all the best in 2021.
It's got to be a better year, doesn't it?
I sure hope so.
Okay. Bye, Steve.
Bye-bye. Thank you.